Ah. Hey everyone, how you doing? Hope you're all doing well. Soulbag Greg here again. Soviet, thank you for the love of support and for the health check redeem. I really appreciate it. So, let me change something here. So, there we go. Okay, that's better. So, hope you're all doing well. Pleasure to have you all back after that Sword World game session we had. Sword World is definitely a unique tabletop RPG, and one I'm really looking forward to play more of. For those of you out there who have been interested in trying out Sword World from checking out sessions like these on my Twitch and YouTube, but ask yourself, how do I create a character for this really cool, unique Japanese tabletop RPG? Well, my friend, you've come to the right place. So grab a chair, grab a Christmas Snuggie. It is the holiday season. Get yourself some hot chocolate and a pencil and paper. As we dive into how to create characters for Sword World. I was about to say Sword Art Online there, but I'm glad I didn't. So, in Sword World, you have 3 different ways in which you can create a character. You have the easy creation method, which we'll go over here in just a moment. You have the standard or detailed creation, which is what we're going to spend most of this video discussing. And you have the character building book version, which is the most complex. Think of it, if you've ever played a tabletop RPG that used a life path system to help build a character and create their backstory. Say, for instance, BattleTech, 3rd edition, or 4th edition of Time of War, as well as where it took a lot of its inspiration from Traveler. Those have life path systems in which you literally start the character when they're very small, and each event that happens in different parts of their life help shape their characteristics, their stats, and also shapes a bit of their story. That is how the character building book version for Sword World works. That one's a bit complex, so that one we will leave for a third, or the third character option. We will leave that as a separate video, as this one will already go a bit long, just going over the detailed creation. But once you learn how to do that one, it'll be pretty fun to use over and over again. It adds a lot of flavor. But you're saying to yourself, "But Soul, I want to play this game right now. Just show me the simple points to get in." All right, I hear you. So, let's go over basic character creation 101. In the core rulebook, in this case 2.5, there is an easy character creation at the very beginning, and afterwards followed by the detailed character creation. You can find these instructions in the English translated version of the book, which is available online. The book itself, a lot of these resources were translated by amazing fan translators. Definitely go to the fan translation project, Cardia's library, if you wish to know more, and get some really cool English translated resources for Sword World. As at the moment, it is all still officially in Japanese. However, there is an official production coming out. I'm not exactly sure when they will finally release it, but they will be releasing it hopefully next year. I'm hoping next year. So while these documents are available for you to check out and learn and how to play for Sword World, bear in mind that once the official material does start releasing, these documents will be removed from access in order to help encourage those who are interested in playing Sword World to supporting the official English release, which I do recommend. And I'm looking forward to having official translated English copies of these books as well. So, Method 1, Easy Creation. It's about as simple as 1, 2, 3. So, in the easy character creation process, they have pre-built characters starting at level 2, I think. It's as easy as taking a look at what the options are available. In the first book, they have a lot of the basic races and basic classes you can pick from, so nothing too complex. That'll come for the later books. If you want something that's more complex, those are offered in later core rule books, and there's some supplementary material that will also have some additional classes and races available. So if something isn't quite to your liking in the 3 core rulebooks, check out the supplementary material. They may have some more fun stuff for you to look into. For the sake of learning, we're not going to go over all that material. That's a lot to cover. However, if you are interested in me covering any of the material that we're just kind of reference and kind of just gloss over to give you a quick little idea, but not really dive into, make sure to give this video a like, share and subscribe, and please leave a comment for anything that you would like for me to cover in the future. If we can get this video to 50 likes, I'll go through the most liked comment, and we can do a separate video explaining that material. So, quick character creation. There's a little handy dandy chart here that asks you a few questions. Do you want to fight a frontline as a vanguard? Do you want to be someone that supports allies? Or do you want to be someone who specializes in being in the rear guard? Once you ask those questions, like say, I want to be a fighter in the vanguard. I want to stand on the front lines and do really cool stuff. You know, like Lord of the Rings. You know, like the scene at the very beginning of the very first movie. You know, with all the elves and humans like fighting orcs in frontline combat. That's super cool. I want to be that. You know. Well, you go through this handy dandy little list here. If you want to use weapons, you know, human warrior works. You know, I don't want to use magic. I'd like to use swords. Oh, we got a human warrior here for you. Oh, what if I want to be a martial artist? Okay, well, a lycant boxer. Lycant being like a cat-like person. Cat-like person. I can never enunciate. Oh, but maybe you do want to be a frontline combatant, but you want to use magic as well. Well, we have a nightmare magic warrior. The next step, or the next portion down here. I want to fight and I want to support my allies. Okay, well, we got some options for you. You want to help shield your allies more often? Well, we have a dwarf paladin that can do that. If you want to take it easy, you can be an elf priest swordsman. Each of these classes are basically, well, not necessarily classes. Think of them as roles. It's not like D&D where you typically pick a class and you have a bunch of stuff you can do with said class and kind of like add additional like skills and mechanics to make them very unique. Or in later D&D. Early D&D is a bit more rigid, which is what this game is more inspired by. It's more inspired by earlier days of D&D as far as like you have a role, you play that role. The flexibility, however, comes from mixing classes, as you will soon see. That is actually the bread and butter of this game system, you don't pick one class. You are expected to multi-class and start at adventure level 2. Adventure level being your highest level of any of the classes you have. And yeah, you can purchase as many as individual classes you want, as these classes are essentially like class skill sets. The more you are at one, the better you are at that particular class skill set, but you'll be lacking in other areas. The more spread out you are, the more you will be a oh, what's the term? Jack of all trades, master of none. So yeah, when you read human warrior up here, you're not just a human warrior, and we're going to go over that here in just a moment. But that's kind of a generalization of like your role, but you probably have some other classes in there too to help round out your character. Alright, so say you want to attack from the rear guard. You want to be safe. You want to help support your buddies, but you don't want to be directly in danger. Well, if you want to attack with magic, we have a Tablet Magician here you can pick from. If you want to shoot with Gun, we have a Runefolk Gunner. Runefolk are like, they're like automaton people, which you will see here in a moment. So, just to take a quick look here. You want to pick a human warrior. They have all the stats already built in. So all of your ability scores, your ability score modifiers are all here. The different classes you've chosen. So say this, you want to be this human warrior. As you can see, a human warrior consists, for this character, 2 levels in fighter, 1 level in scout, and 1 level in ranger. Scout and ranger are, I believe those are minor classes, which we'll go over when we do the detailed class generation. But they basically help give you a bunch of like smaller bonuses to things you wouldn't get a bonus on if you just focus on fighter. They're very helpful. You have power strike, you have some technique, movement, observation. We'll go over what all this stuff means when we do the detailed. You have some languages that you've developed. You get a bastard sword for both a single one-handed stance and a two-handed stance. Your initiative is filled in along with your movement, normal movement, full movement. And yeah, it has everything filled out for you here. Your health, your mana points, fortitude, willpower, your stats for combat, your evasions, your defense, all that fun stuff. How much gold you have left over, and anything else you may need left over from this particular character build. And yeah, that is literally the easy character creation. You're just basically looking at what looks fun from these pre-built characters. They got a little description here also for what they specialize in, what to expect, as well as these spider charts. And yeah, you just go in and see what you like, pick a character, write down all their stats, and then just fill in the rest of like their name and any other ancillary information that may not be written down. And yeah, simple as that. Okay. Now that we've gone over simple character creation, we assume you have a character written down, but you don't know what any of the stuff on the character sheet means. Well, we're going to go over that before we go into the detailed character creation. So let's talk about that with one of the characters that I created for my RPG. So here we have the wonderful Anya Pavlova, who, in the regular Soul Prime universe, which is the universe I'm from, she's a soldier and as well as amazing dancing partner. In this universe, the Sword World universe, she is actually a Runefolk gunner. So somebody who is an automaton that was created many years ago and who has recently awakened. So just to go over the character sheet here. Starting off in this area, we have your personality. So your personality is some just generic information about your character. Your name, in this case, it's Anya Pavlova. Player character, that would be me, Soul. Her race is a Runefolk. By the way, we are using the Roll20 app for character creating, or for the character sheets and stuff, because some awesome people went in and created this character sheet. It works really well. There's other resources you can find, like Guided by Guided by Cardia, I believe the name is. It has a lot of great resources in Excel for character sheets, but in this case, we're using the one here for Roll20, which is you just need an account, but you don't need to it's free. You can just sign up for free, and you have access to the stuff. So there's a little drop down here. Okay. Never mind. Her name's already written in, so it won't drop down any further. But if there's no name here, you just click that, and it brings down an entire list of races. Her age, we have no clue what her age is. We just know she's probably about 300 years old or more, since she is from an era long gone by, during the age of technology. Is now the age of swords, I believe. Gender female. And for her, she has the racial abilities, dark vision, and HP conversion, since she is a Runefolk. Over here we have the ability scores. So when we go into detailed character creation, we're going to generate these numbers. That'll create a correction here, and that will filter down into the ability scores here. And we will generate modifiers for those scores. These will be randomly rolled according to what race we want to play in the detailed character creation. These are corrections in the book that you'll need to put in, usually by rolling a certain amount of dice. Typically it's 2d6, but sometimes it's more or less, depending on the race. Growth is something you don't have to worry about at the moment. This is only when your character levels up. There's a chance that one of these stats will go up. And your ability score is the combination of your base and your correction added up. The modifier you get, like in, say, like D&D, right? A lot of people are kind of familiar with the D20 style way of, or the more modern way of ability score bonuses. You know, it's whatever your number is, typically between 3 and 18, subtracted by 10 and then divided by 2. That's what your ability score is. Well, in this game, it's actually divided by 6. See, they put a little division 6 there. So you take this number, you divide it by 6, and I believe you rolled. I think you round down. I'll verify that here in a moment. Yes, you round down to the nearest whole number. That will determine whenever you have to do something that is skill related to your class. This number, so for like dex or agility, strength, vitality, intelligence, or spirit, that'll get added along with your class number or your class level if you have the appropriate class, and then any other additional modifiers, and that will be added to your 2d6 roll whenever you need to make rolls. Moving on, we have the reputation and rank over here. So this is for you have your reputation you gain, same thing with your rank as you're leveling up, and that'll affect different things. That's a bit more, but we're not worried too much about that right at this moment. If you want to know more about that, we can go over that in a future video. That is information covered in Core Rulebook 2. Just know that when anytime reputation or rank is referred to, this is where you will find it right there. And this is your adventure level. So the way leveling works in this game is, unlike in D&D, where you reach a certain XP threshold and your character levels up according to their class, this game has it to where you're basically purchasing classes like you're going to a salad bar. You're going to spend a certain amount of points to purchase a class, depending on the level. The higher the level, the more experience you're expected to spend to obtain it. Different classes will have different price points. So you have your major and minor classes. Major classes are more expensive, but they offer a lot more compared to minor classes, where they add more like ancillary type of support. But they're still pretty good, you know. When you purchase these levels here, the max level, so whichever level out of all of the classes you've purchased, whatever the highest one is, that's going to be your adventure level. Your adventure level determines like your maximum health, your maximum magic points, the amount of combat feats you get, as well as other like non-class based skills that you can get that are based off of adventure levels. So the more you focus on one particular class, the higher your adventure level will go up as well, matching it. And everything else, like say here we have a level in marksman, we have a level in enhancer here. These do not contribute to the adventure level because they are both lower than the highest maximum. Well, the highest, I shouldn't say maximum. The highest class level. If the marksman, say we spend enough XP to bring this up to a level 3, then this will be the highest class level, and that in turn will make the adventure level level 3. So just keep that in mind when you look into building a character. Experience points, you're going to have your experience points down here. This is where you would add it after each session. This isn't necessarily how much experience, you know, don't think of it as like the way D&D has it, where you have a certain amount of experience and that's how you level up. This is more like experience. Think of it more like currency. This is the experience you have that you can spend to purchase whatever new class levels you'd like to purchase, and whatever doesn't get used gets left here. So this is more of like a spending resource as opposed to just an earning resource. Soul scars here. That is in reference to, I believe, anytime your character dies and gets brought back, they come back with what are called soul scars. The more they come back, the more damage their soul is. Here, let me double check on that just to make sure. Just to make sure I'm not giving you wrong information. I don't, you know, I haven't had an opportunity to really run into soul scar issues very much, so hasn't been a big issue, but okay. Yeah, soul scars typically tend to affect the nightmares because they are essentially, nightmares are mutations of humans, elves, and dwarves. The more soul scars they have, the more they become ostracized because they are viewed as abominations, right? Yeah, so every time you get resurrected, you have with you a soul scar, which is kind of like a taboo subject in Sword World. So the more times that happens, or other things that may generate soul scars, that number goes here. Now down here are automatic failures. So what happens is, in this game, if you have what is called an automatic failure, to where you basically roll snake eyes, you roll 2d6 and you get 2. So one for each d6, that is an automatic failure. That's not good. That's, you know, that's the equivalent of a critical fail in other RPGs. However, the light at the end of the tunnel is that even though you critically failed, you failed so bad that it's going to stick out in your mind. You're going to remember that failure, and you're going to use it as a learning experience to ensure that that doesn't happen again. So the more times you automatically fail, the more experience you're going to get from learning from failure, essentially. So every time you have an automatic failure, you just fill these in. Okay. All right, let's go back. Let's go back here. Okay. Okay, so we went through that. Down here we have your languages. So when you pick your characters, you pick their races, and even their classes, you're going to get a certain amount of abilities right off the bat for knowing either how to speak or read a certain language, or both. Some of them are easier to obtain than others. But anything that you get through character creation when it comes to speaking or reading, you put them here. And if there's anything that isn't covered in this list, you hit the little add button, add some additional languages from the book. Over here we have the classes. We pointed at this just a moment earlier. Anytime you gain new levels in a class, you just type it in here. And if it's something that is going to mechanically change, it will actually go through and automatically update various areas that may be referencing it. So let's say we have Anya here. We have our Runefolk gunner. She's been getting surprised a lot in caves, or I should say caves. I should say like man-made, like underground facilities and cities and stuff like that. And we're like, you know what? She's been getting the jump on way too many times. Let's make sure that she's better at scouting out possible enemies and being able to just search around better. So, you know, she doesn't fall for that stuff anymore. Well, scouting is what we would want to purchase. So we put a level in scout here. And as you can see, scouting is what are called check packages. Different classes here have very specific check packages that add a lot of utility to your character. In this case, for her, since you put a level in Scout, this automatically fills up. It shows level 1 here. Anytime we need to use any techniques, techniques can range from things that typically use dexterity modifiers. And that's more detailed in the skills, which there's a lot of skills in this game. They're all very specific on how they're used. And going over each one would take a while. That's a separate video that we can do if you guys want to have me break down how each skill works. Just know that if you have a skill package from a class that is specific to various skills that you can do in the game, they will be listed here, and they will add the modifiers automatically if you use the Roll20 page. Down here we have the combat feats, so each odd level, so starting with level 1, level 3, level 5, so on and so forth, you're going to get the opportunity to learn a combat feat. Different classes have different recommendations on what feats to use, as they will help benefit combat with that particular class. So say, for instance, you want to be a marksman. you're going to want targeting. Targeting is very important, as it helps give you the ability to accurately shoot at something without accidentally hitting your buddy. Very important. There's a lot more to go over, but just know that that is something that happens when your adventure level, specifically when your adventure level goes up every odd number. So not your individual class number, adventure level. And any other additional techniques, spell songs, stunts, stuff like that, we'll go down here. Okay, that's the first sheet. The second sheet has more information. So if you have anything like Sage or Rider or Dark Hunter, that'll get filled in here. Your intelligence modifier will get added in, and that'll help give you some bonuses to monster knowledge when you want to roll monster knowledge. Know that if nothing is generated in these boxes, you don't get a bonus. You just, if you do want to roll, like say I want to roll monster knowledge, but she's not a Sage or a Dark Rider or Dark Hunter or a Rider. But we still want to try anyway. It's just a flat 2d6 roll. Wow, she rolled a 4. She's not really good at that. You probably should have someone else who's better at that. Yeah, so if you're trying to do something with your character that you don't specialize in from your character class skills, you do still get the opportunity to roll, but you don't add any modifiers, or you don't I shouldn't say any modifiers. You don't add any character ability score bonuses. Like say you would in D&D. You don't know a skill in D&D, you can still add their attribute bonus, right? For just their raw attribute. That's not the case in this game. It's all or nothing. So you either know it, you add your character ability score plus the amount of levels they have in that class and any additional modifiers, or you just do a flat 2d6 roll, and then if any additional modifiers are pending, and see if you make the number. Same thing with here with Scout and Tacticians. So for initiative, Scouts and Tacticians will add to your initiative score, which, by the way, this is not individual. When you guys go into combat, you roll together as a team. So everybody rolls their initiative scores. Scouts and Tacticians will naturally have a better chance of getting a higher ability score. The idea is you want to get a score higher than the highest initiative for a monster. If you can do that, the heroes go first. If you can't do that, the heroes go after the monsters. There's some more nuance to how that works, but that's just a very basic explanation. Over here on this side, this is where your movement is going to be, which is all covered in meters. So limited movement, I believe, is always 3 meters. So think of it as like the 5-step or 5-foot step rule from older D&D editions. Normal agility or normal movement is based off of your agility number. So that's how many meters you can move per turn. And if you do a full move, which is the equivalent of, like, say, a run, where all you're going to do is move for your turn, that is your normal move multiplied by 3. That goes here. All this stuff is automated on Roll20. It's pulling directly from your agility score. Over here you have your different martial classes. So fighter, grappler, marksman, battle dancer, fencer. Whatever level you have for the class that you're using for that particular attack, that will automatically calculate your base accuracy by adding your dexterity modifier into it with that number here. And the amount of extra damage you do from a roll right here using your strength modifier. And if there's any movement enhancements for what you're doing, they should auto-populate here. Here is your weapons. So as you can see, each weapon has an individual stat line. So you can have multiple weapons or multiple types of the same weapon that offer up different abilities. So as you can see here, for her first line, we have the Torador Solid Bullet, which is, looks like it uses one magic point, MP1. The class it's based off is Marksman, which we have a level 1 in, and it's a two-handed stance. There's going to be a lot of different stances pointed out. As you can see, there's all sorts of different types of stances. Each one of these has a very specific meaning. They're very important. They're listed in the book, but we can go over that when we look for the type of equipment that we're going to use for our new character, and just kind of briefly go over what all that means. This is the minimum strength to use that weapon. You will have penalties if you do not meet the minimum strength of that weapon. Any additional weapon accuracy goes right here, but a lot of stuff should be automatically generated, which is where this is right here, total accuracy. So say we want to shoot. We rolled a 4 from our 2d6. That's really bad. And with our accuracy of 5, we add that and get a 9. I don't know what that would hit, but it might hit something. If we hit, we refer to the power of the weapon. Each weapon has power scaling. This is how you determine damage in Sword World. Sword World doesn't use polyhedral dice when it comes to skill rolls, damage, stuff you would see like in a D20 system or like D&D. Because when this game was developed in Japan in the 80s, polyhedral dice were not a thing back then. It was very hard to find that stuff in Japan. However, it was very easy to find D6s there. So they made the system revolve around D6s, and they still do to this day. And this is how they do it. They have a power chart. Each number has a specific stat array for rolling damage. So if we want to roll damage, this thing has a power of 20. The power of 20 has each number here based off of what number we roll on a 2d6. A crit value here at the end. That's what we need to roll 2d6 or better in order to hit our crit roll. Any extra damage that would also happen here. And then our total extra damage, which in this case, since for marksman, we have a damage of 2 for extra damage, using the strength modifier for using that. And yeah, we would just roll that. Wow, we are not getting good rolls today, guys. So we rolled a 3. So because we rolled a 3, that's that number right there. We dealt 1 damage plus our 2 extra damage dice, or our extra damage number. Not extra damage dice, that's quite a different thing. And we add that all together and we got 3. That's really sad. If they have a high enough defense, they could tank that and not take any damage. Very sad. At least we didn't roll 2 though. As you can see, 2 is a failure. So unlike in D&D, where if you hit, you roll your damage, and unless if your opponent has resistance to it, or has a threat, I think it's called a threshold in 5th edition, to essentially absorb that damage and not have any left over. In Sword World, it's not assumed that you're going to do damage just because you hit right off the bat. You have to roll your 2d6 and hope you don't roll 2. Because if you roll 2, you didn't do any damage with that hit. It was such a bad shot. Man. Shame. So yeah, that's your weapon lines right there. Here you would put any additional information. So she has the Torador max mag of 3. Range of 2, so she can shoot it out 30 meters. She has the targeting sight, flashlight, mana search, explorer's kit, and knocker bomb for all the additional points. And then down here is your defense stuff. So any equipment you're wearing for different sections of your body can help protect you. And once again, if you have martial levels, so like fighter, battle dancer, grappler, or fencer that you're using, you will generate a base evasion. Evasion is how you avoid damage, not by rolling against a static number or rolling against a set defense by your opponent's armor class or agility. In this case, it's all about your evasion. So one person is attacking to hit, the other person is evading to not get hit. And once that's determined, if you did hit, you then roll to see whether or not you actually hurt them. Once again, any armor, like armor, shields, any additional notes like beetle skin, which is a tech, that will help add additional numbers to your character's either evasion or total defense. So if you want to evade an attack, click that button there. She rolled a 5. She gets a 5 for evasion. Yeah, she do not put your Runefolk gunner in the front line. They're not meant for that. Have them in the rear guard where they're meant to shoot. Just make sure they have the proper combat feats to not accidentally hit your buddies, because that would be embarrassing. Alright, down here, if you have anything related to magic powers, so in this case, she is an artificer. That's part of how it works for her. She's not shooting a normal gun with a normal bullet that just hits with impact. She's shooting a bullet that's magically infused with artificer magic, which delivers certain types of damage depending on what was put on it. The bullet itself, that's just the delivery method. How it actually damage is according to the magic power that was put onto it. So in this case, magic power is a 4. A little further down to the second page is the last part. We have your HP, so that's your hit points or health points. So this is your total here. On this side, which we haven't entered in yet, this will be what your current total is. This is your full total. So this is your hit points. Anytime you take damage, you take away from this number. Anytime you're healed, you add to that number up to your maximum. There might be chances where you actually get healed above your maximum, but that's a subject for another time. Magic points, same thing right here. You use them, or it gets drained, number goes down. You restore them, numbers go up. Over here is your fortitude and willpower. Fortitude is determined by your adventure level plus your vitality modifier. Your willpower is based off of your adventure level and your spirit modifier. Let's see, let me give a proper explanation of both these. So anytime you need to make a fortitude check, that is a standard value of your adventure level and vitality modifier. Anytime I bring up the term standard value, that is basically you adding various bonuses together to get your full bonus. That's all it means. Standard value is how this game describes it. So like in D&D, you want to roll a skill. You're going to add your skill number to your ability score modifier. And with the exception of any other additional modifiers you may have, that is your total bonus. In this game, that is basically what you're doing. Either based off of your ability modifier or your adventure level, plus your any other modifiers that are required, which are usually described in the book. All that added together, that is your standard value. So fortitude, if you need to resist poisons, disease, etc. So you roll that. If you're successful, the effect can be either nullified or half, depending on the definition of whatever it is you're dealing with. If you fail it, you get the full effect. Willpower. is the opposite of fortitude. It's not physical, it's spiritual. So, resisting various mental and magical effects. Same thing, if you succeed, it can either be fully nullified or halved, depending on the nature of the attack. Failure, you deal with the full effect. And that's what those are. The rest here is pretty self-explanatory. Your money or deposit or debt goes right here. Items and possessions, you can list it right here. If you had an adventure set, which is everything described here, you just click that for ease of accounting. And then down here is your power table. So if you want to know what a power table has for different items and stuff, but you don't want to like look through the book, you can just go through here, and if you need to calculate something really quick, you just type that in. You can also modify, I believe, the numbers, or just add another line and just type whatever number you want. Like say 47 for some reason. 47 is going to come up. There we go. It shows you what that power stat array would be if you need to roll something that is a power of 47. There you go. Boom. Oh, we rolled a 2. Very sad. Okay. So now that we've showed you what the character sheets are going to look like and kind of what they all do, let's get to creating our character using the detailed character creation. So for those who are familiar with this channel, our lovely dance partner is Anya Pavlova here. So obviously we worked on her first for a character in a story. We're going to create her rival. Someone who in this universe despises her for a multitude of reasons. If you're curious about why, definitely tune into the channel. There's definitely been explanations, especially during RPG time. But we're gonna create her rival here. Her name is Natasha Shevchenko, and she is going to be a magic user in this universe, which is kind of on par on every single multiverse that she exists. She tends to be the magic user. We don't know where or how or why she has this ability to use magic when no one else can. That's actually an ongoing mystery, and it will remain a mystery. Kind of. Once we start going into more of the cyber noir century universe that I'm creating for this channel here, which will have a lot of stories in, we'll dig into that a bit more. But she'll feel a bit more home here in a fantasy magical universe like Sword World. So we already got some of her basic information up. So she's a human, 27 years of age, female. And now we get to do all the goodies and start coming up with all the cool numbers and go through step by step on creating her as a fully fledged Sword World character. So let's refer back to the book. We're gonna go back to let's see here, detailed creation. Sorry, I just need to drink some water. My mouth's getting dry from all the talking. So, detailed character creation. As page 61 in the book, for those following along. So, in order to do detailed character creation, we first need a blank character sheet. In your case, probably a Roll20 sheet. Afterwards, we're going to select their race and background. Then we get to determine what their ability scores are by rolling dice. We're then going to acquire characters via purchasing them using experience points available at character creation. We're then going to acquire languages from what we had selected earlier for character class and race. That'll then turn into combat feats. We'll go into the combat feats acquisition next. Afterwards, we're going to purchase equipment with what we have available. We're going to calculate the values, which for the most part will be automated, but we'll still go through that process. And then we'll finish off with the final touches. Ah, so. Alright. So, in this case, she is a human. So, humans have a starting racial ability called either Sword's Grace or Changing Fate. What this does is it'll allow us to use it either for a skill check once per day, damage calculation, or loot determination by switching the fate of what we rolled. So the way that works for a human is that if we rolled, say, a 1, we actually get to flip the die on its opposite end. So whatever side it's laying on, that actually becomes the top side. And the top side becomes what it now lays on. So if we roll a 1, it now becomes a 6. So it helps add a little... It gives us a little more control over our fate. So we're going to add that Sword's Grace, Changing Fate. There's different Swords Graces available for different races, depending on what you pick. But for humans, we get the Changing Fate for Swords Grace. Okay. So for our background, you can either roll 2d6 if you want to randomize it up, or you can select what sounds closest to what you're doing. There's different options for the different core rule books available. This is more of the basic, so just to kind of keep things easy. But the more advanced you want to go, the higher the book number you're going to be looking through. But we're going to keep it simple. So we're just going to make her a straight up sorcerer, for her magic abilities. So her background is going to be sorcerer. Her starting class is going to be sorcerer. She's going to start with 6 in skill, 5 in body, and 10 in mind. And she's going to have 2,000 experience left over for us to purchase additional class levels soon. So let's type that in. Okay, so she's gonna start as a sorcerer. Let's see here. What was the numbers? 6, 5, and 10. So let's type that in. As you can see, by doing that, we've already manipulated some of the numbers over here. And we even got some basic modifiers. Okay. So now we're going to determine the ability score. So if we're playing a human, we're going to roll 2d6. That's what 2d means, but I like saying 2d6 because that's how I roll. So A through F, that is these corrections here. So this is A, B, C, D, E, F. Each one is going to take the base number. So as you can see, skill affects both dexterity and agility. Body affects both strength and vitality. Mind affects both intelligence and spirit. So, as a human, we're kind of all around, right? All the other races, they're going to have super cool, special uniquenesses to kind of make them very unique and stand, have very unique bonuses that really make them stand above, really give them an ability to shine, right? Humans, we're kind of plain, right? But we have the ability to grow and mold ourselves to fit any need we need. Hence why all of our bonuses here are all the same. We have the ability to change, to mold ourselves the way we see fit. So, we're going to start rolling A through F and see what we get. Hopefully they'll be good. If the numbers that you're looking for aren't what you want, then feel free to re-roll them. However, don't cheat yourself. This isn't like D&D where you can roll 4 and take the 3 highest, you know. Or just roll a number of stats and then just choose where they go. No. This is old school. You roll each one after another. If you don't like what you got overall, just like the old CRPGs of old and D&D of old, you re-roll everything starting at the beginning. It makes it more unique. It gives you some stuff to play with and maybe some faults that you may have not have guessed, but creates for some very unique role-playing. And it means a lot more for your character to achieve more with less than someone who's been given everything. You know what I mean? So let's start with A. Just do a flat 2d6 roll. You can roll over here on Roll20. They have a toolbar on the left-hand side for all sorts of things. This dice, this D20 looking dice, that is this right here. Individual dice you need to roll. You just click once here. Otherwise, you can put in various type of mathematics for creating different types of dice rolls. But for ease of use, we're just going to use the 2 right here for D6. That's 2d6 roll. Okay, so she got a 4 in dexterity. I don't like how that's not great. That's not great. 7, that's better. That's average. So remember, on a 2d6 roll, 7 is the greatest average you're going to get. That's the high medium on the bell curve. The more you go one way or another, it's going to become harder to achieve that type of number on 2d6. So, you know what? We'll take the average. Another 7 again. Oh my god. Okay. Wow. Don't get hit. She's got a 7 in vitality. Yeah. Alright, let's do it a couple more times. This isn't good, guys. This is what she's supposed to do. And her spirit is the only good thing she's got going for her. Alright. Alright, well, we're gonna do a mulligan. Because this ain't it, Chief. This ain't it. Okay, let's start over again. An 8. Alright, that's pretty good for dexterity. A 9. Holy bananas, this is crazy. This feels like I'm playing wizardry right now. I'm getting the one character with, insane starter rolls. 6. Alright, they gotta bring us down a little bit. That's okay. I'll still take that over the last roll. 9. Oh my gosh. A 10. And a 7. You know what? We're safe. This is good. I like this. Alright, so now that these are all added together, we have a 14 in dexterity, a 15 in agility, an 11 in strength, a 14 in vitality, a 20 in intelligence, a 17 in spirit. And from that, we get a modifier of 2, a modifier of 2 here for agility, a modifier for 1, but that's okay. She's not really expected to do any heavy hitting stuff, so you know, that's definitely not our strong suit. Vitality has a modifier of 2. Intelligence has a modifier of 3. Very nice. And Spirit has a modifier of 2. So yeah, looking a lot better than it was before. Alright, let's go over what these numbers mean. This isn't quite like D&D, like I've said multiple times. The ability scores for the different abilities, they're similar enough, but there's enough of a difference to where some explanation is at least warranted. Okay, so let me go over to the explanation. Okay, so your dexterity score and your modifier with it. This ability score represents manual dexterity and the skillful use of items. A high value indicates extreme skill item usage as well as higher accuracy in combat. So think of dexterity as hand-eye coordination, right? If you're good with the weapon, you're good at very intricate, detailed things that require steady hands, you know. Anything that requires that is dexterity. The next you have here is agility. This is your quickness of motion, your nimbleness. Your high value not only increases your travel distance on average, but also increases the likelihood of avoiding attacks. So anytime you have to do anything that requires your whole body, so anytime you need to move, you move a lot farther in just general movement. If you need to avoid getting hit, you're much more nimble. If you need to, say, walk a tightrope, or anything that requires full control over your body in order to avoid danger, agility score is where that would be. Strength, this is pretty self-explanatory. So this is your physical strength. The higher value means you can use heavier weapons and armor, as well as increase damage to opponents. You know, or in the other cases where you may need to lift a rock. You know, like a boulder has obstruct the only exit for your party. You get the big strong guy has a better chance of not throwing his back out by rolling high and removing the obstruction to get the party to safety from, say, a collapsing cave. Next off, we have vitality. That represents your physical toughness. A higher value means that you're better at resisting potions and diseases, as well as increasing your maximum health points, or HP. Next, we have intelligence. Intelligence represents your cleverness and depth of knowledge. It increases knowledge checks as well as spell casting checks. So for those that are bookworms or those that need to use knowledge for inspections or using magic to do stuff, very important. Intelligence is very important for all that stuff. So unlike in D&D where, well, no, we can talk about that later. Spirit. Spirit is your ability score representing mental toughness. Higher value increases both magic resist and magic and max magic points. So intelligence is good for everybody that uses like magic. It's not like in D&D where, you know, a wizard will want a high intelligence score, but you know, like say a priest or a cleric, more appropriately, would want a high wisdom score, right? Because they use it a bit differently. In this game, everybody uses intelligence when it comes to magic. There's differences here and there, but they're going to be using intelligence. Spirit is more your spirit represents more of like your ability to shield yourself against magic and other things that would affect your mental your mental fortitude. Alright, so we got that all taken care of. Let's go to the next step. And yeah, here's a nifty little chart for creating your ability modifier. But like I said, you're essentially doing whatever the number score, the ability score you got. You're going to divide that by 6, round down to the nearest whole number. That's your ability score modifier that gets added to dice rolls when appropriate. Next, you have the class acquisition. So this is where we determine what additional classes to purchase along with the first class that we got. This is what's going to help round out our character, so we're not just a one-trick pony. Or we're not just, you know, we're not super min-maxing, right? This is where we get a little more leeway to kind of branch out and to do other unique things besides our main thing we're kind of focusing on. When you look for purchasing character classes, you're going to have 2 different types of character classes. You're going to have major classes that are much more involved with a package. Usually involves offense and defense, as well as unique skills and abilities. And then you have the minor classes. Those are going to be used for classes that aren't as impactful, but help round out your character in ways that can be really beneficial for you and your party compared to if you were to go into a situation without it. So like we were talking about before, we have Anya Pavlova as a marksman. So she shoots a gun at long range. She can help support her team by being a sniper, essentially. And that's all well and good when in combat. When out of combat, that doesn't do a whole lot. So we took Scout to make sure that she doesn't get tricked with ambushes and things like that. She has a better chance at searching out items or traps, or keeping her eye open for any surprises, and being able to roll a higher initiative by scouting out the area and knowing where the enemy is to help out your team. That's what a minor class does. So when we start purchasing classes, we're going to start with level 1. And then afterwards, level 2, level 3, so on and so forth. With each level, you're going to have more required, more XP required in order to go up to the next level. So like it says right here, 1,000 points for a major class, 500 points for a minor class when starting at level 1. To reach level 2, in a class where you already have first level, you will need 1,000 points regardless of the type to learn level 2, or to learn a level 2 of a class that you have not yet mastered. 2,000 points or 1,500 points are required. And yeah, there's no limit to how many classes you can learn except for the limit imposed by experience points. So when you create a character, you're not going to have any class level higher than 2. That doesn't mean you can't find a weird way to try and put yourself over 2 levels. That's the cap starting out. So you can't have any class during character creation that exceeds 2 levels. So 2 level is the peak. Alright, let's take a look at these classes here. So we have chosen the Sorcerer class. That's under the Wizard type classes. So for us, this caster learns True Speech Magic, True speech magic is a magic system that can be called traditional, as their spells are often in many ways offer many ways to deal direct damage, and at the same time, it also has convenient spells such as lighting a magical light. So their magic users can be very flexible with how they use this stuff. This isn't like a sorcerer and like what you would consider sorcerers and like D&D that have a very specific meaning to it. In this case, it just means like a magic user, like Arcana. This is a major class. We're gonna want to look for other classes. We can bring this up to a level 2. Probably not a bad idea. Let's see here. There we go. So in order to get level 2 here, we need to spend another 1,000 XP to raise that up. So we have 2,000 currently. That's going to get dropped down to 1,000. So we'll just put 1,000 here for what's left over at the moment. We're going to bump this up to level 2. Oh, I don't know what I did there. I clicked the wrong button. There you go. She has 2 levels of sorcerer now. And she's probably more likely going to be... Let's see here. It would probably be beneficial for her to have a level of Sage. Sages help with, like, general knowledge. So if you're in a situation where you encounter a monster and you don't know what that monster is, you can roll your Sage levels, and if you succeed, you'll be able to determine what kind of monster it is. A lot of it's basic information. You roll high enough, you will be able to understand its strengths and weaknesses, and use that to your advantage. It also has not weaknesses just as like what's good against it, but like actual weaknesses that have mechanical effects. So if you go and fight a monster and you didn't roll high enough for monster knowledge, it may have a weakness to fire. You don't know that, so anytime you use fire, it doesn't take the extra fire damage that it normally would. If you knew that, then you would apply the bonus fire damage for its weakness. Stuff like that. So I'm thinking we're going to take a level of Sage and a level of Scout, because Scout will also help us not get ambushed. We can be better at investigating things, while in human societies or like just general societies where it looks like non-nature areas. So cities, buildings, underground facilities that were created by creatures in a sort of structured environment. If it's a wilderness area or caves or anything that looks like is ruled by nature, that is where the ranger comes in. So if you remember Aragorn, right, from Lord of the Rings, he was a ranger. He lived out, made his living out in the woods doing tracking and all that cool stuff. He was a ranger. That's what rangers do. Rangers deal with the natural. Scouts deal with man-made environments. That's the main difference. And they have slightly different focuses here and there for each one. So let's just double check. Pretty sure those are minor classes. So yeah, Scout is a minor class and Sage is a minor class. Both are going to cost 500 at level 1. So we're going to do just that. We're going to spend the 1,000 here. We have 0 experience points left over. Oh, we'll also put here Sorcerer for her background. So she's going to have a level 1 in Sage. As you can see, we filled that in, and now anytime she needs to use knowledge checks, we just roll that, and now she has a knowledge check bonus. She got a 14 there. Very nice. And then 1 level in Scout. There we go. Look at that. Look how much... Look at our utility now. Instead of just slinging magic, now we can use our techniques, we can use special movements, we can use observations, and our knowledge for our Sage. So we hit a lot of categories with the 2,000 points we had left over. Very cool. Okay. I'm gonna BRB real quick. I need to grab some water. All this talking is making my mouth dry, so give me a second. Don't go anywhere. Alright, welcome back. Sorry it took a moment. I ended up making myself some nice hot peppermint tea with honey. That'll definitely help out with my throat. But yeah, we got our purchases here. So as you can see, it affected both this page and the other page. It gave us monster knowledge, as well as the ability to roll better initiatives. With the exception of magical powers here, our evasion is pretty trash at the moment. We have no evasion, no defense at the moment. So yeah, we don't want to be in the front lines. Otherwise, we're going to get hurt pretty bad. Alright, let's check out the next part for creating Natasha here. So now that we've got our class acquisition, we are also going to be doing our language acquisition. Hey, well, I've been paying attention, but I've also been redesigning my Elf Archer artwork. Nice, I look forward to seeing it. I always like seeing the artwork for your characters, man. Okay. So, when it comes to language, in the world of Raxia, people speak all sorts of different languages and read all sorts of different languages. It's no different than in any other fantasy world. I think there is a common language. Yes, it is called Trade Common. So all PC characters, that's you guys. So anybody that's playing an active character in a tabletop role-playing game, you can do what is called Read and Write Trade Common. So it is a basic language that anybody can speak freely to each other. That I assume, I haven't looked into the lore, but I assume the reason it's called Trade Common is because it was developed to help ease communications when trading with other races. Hence the term Trade Common. That is what I assume it is. I'm sure I'll learn the more I dive into this amazing game. But we're going to start getting our languages here. So since we are human, we get to have any regional dialect, e.g. Burlight. So why not? We'll give ourselves a Burlight regional dialect. If I find a dialect that suits her better, I'll probably change it, but just for now. So she has human, dialect. Let's see here. Hey, Arena Universe 199X, pleasure to have you here. Welcome in as first time chatter. I heard there is going to be an official release to the newest edition in English eventually. I kept getting ads for it on social media. You are correct, yes. Sword World is going to officially release in English for the first time ever. So I'm pretty excited about that. When it releases, it will not be called Sword World 2.5. It'll just be called Sword World. And yeah, you can actually, if you sign up to the publishing company that is handling it, if you sign up to their email notification that basically emails you any information on any of that fun stuff, you know, future details, updates, any of that stuff, they will actually send you a free to download English primer that tells you a little bit about the world, gives you all the basic mechanics, gives you some pre-generated characters, and gives you gives you both a solo, a small solo scenario for you to roll with your character, as well as a adventure made for 4 players to experience the game mechanics and all that fun stuff, which we actually showcased here a few months ago. I actually have a video on YouTube right now. If you go to Soul Bad Greg on YouTube, I have a Let's Learn How to Play Sword World 2. I don't know if I said Sword World 2.5. It's probably just Sword World. And we went off of the explanation material they had for the English primer release, and eventually we did the solo scenario to kind of go over how the mechanics work with the solo scenario, as well as the 4-player scenario. Although I haven't uploaded those videos yet on YouTube. I am meaning to do that hopefully tonight or tomorrow. And we actually just did a session tonight for a Haunted Mansion scenario that I created for Halloween, but took way too long to do it, so now it's more like the Nightmare Before Christmas. But anyway, yeah, we're actually going over how to create characters for Sword World using the resources available by Guided by Cardia, as well as the resources available here on Roll20. So if you're interested in checking that stuff out, feel free to check out their channel. It's super amazing. They have a lot of community support for helping translate a lot of the material over to English for people to play. But like I had mentioned earlier, once the official English stuff comes out, they're going to start removing all the fan translated stuff in order to help support the official release. So yeah, been playing solo Call of Cthulhu TTRPG Adventures. Nice. I love Call of Cthulhu. It's such a good system. It's just a scary system. There's been one game that I wanted to run years ago, but I only got to run one session, and I didn't get to finish the campaign. It was only it was supposed to be a one shot, but of course all my one shots become 2 or 3 shots. But yeah, very cool. Modified version of Dead Man's Stomp for friends recently. That's cool. Yeah, definitely check out the publisher, the English publisher for Sword World, and yeah, sign up for the email notification and get your document. Okay, so for a human, we're gonna have the regional dialect for Burlight. I don't know exactly what kind of dialogue or what kind of dialect that is, but we will have that. I assume it's both read and write. We'll check it here in a moment. Okay, so any regional dialect, which we put that down there. You learn how to read and speak. Learn how to speak and write in common trade language at character creation, which we already have. In addition, since we are a wizard type class, we did pick sorcerer. We may either be able to do both or either spoken or written if the language is only spoken or only written. We get to learn that as well. So in case, down here, see, they have the different classes that also have additional languages I learn. Since we picked Sorcerer, we're going to also learn Arcana. There you go, see, list of languages here. A little more specific. So we don't really fit any of these other ones. This is just kind of... yeah. So yeah, we learned Arcana. Ancient Celestial has been lost to language in the first civilization once flourished on Raxia. Arcana is used in true speech magic and spiritualism magic, spell chance, and Magitech is used to activate Magispheres, which is what Anya Pavlova does with her bullets. Alright, here's an example of how this all kind of shakes out. So we have a character named Saki here. Saki spent the experience points of Pete, who has become a magician, kind of like us, to acquire additional classes. So she increases the level of sorcerer class he learned from the background. Saki spent 1,000 experience points on Pete to raise his sorcerer class from level 1 to level 2. She still has 1,000 experience points left, so Saki learned one level of sage class, where she can take advantage of her high intelligence and spend another 500 experience, or by spending another 500 experience. She still had 500 experience left over, but decided to not take any other classes. Well, we decided to take it for Scout. She added one sage to the class field, and also added Elven language speaking because of the sage class. Yeah, so I think for each... what was it? I think we may have passed it, actually. There you go. A character who is acquired at the Sage class can learn either speak or written language in one language per level. So we're going to need to look at other languages here to select something extra. We either learn the spoken word or the written word for that language. So let's see here. What would she know? Guys, what do you think? Actually, you know what? I'll leave this up to you guys. Out of all the choices we have here, what do you think would be a language that she would either know how to write or speak? I'm thinking maybe Drakish, maybe Barbaric. Heck, maybe even Yoma for speaking to goblins or hoodlings or bolgs. So Arcana, since she has a wizard class, in this case being Sorcerer, she automatically gains the Arcana language, as that's what she uses in order to use her magic. Yeah. There's a lot of cool Japanese RPGs and Japan exclusive Choose Your Adventure books. Yeah. Love to play those if they're ever translated, Zelda, etc. That's why I'm excited for Sword World. Heck yeah, they're. In fact, actually, if you're a big fan of, if you're a big fan of the oldie but goodie series of Record of Lodoss War, this is actually the same company that created Record of Lodoss War. It was originally a D&D. It was originally a D&D adventure that became a replay by the designers in Japan, who eventually spun it off into its own system, its own universe. and would eventually be a couple steps that would eventually lead them towards the creation of Sword World. And the Cursed Isle of Lodos is actually based in Raxia. It's just very isolated from the rest of the continents, so they don't really overlap much. But yeah, Record of Lost War technically is in the world of Raxia. It's just, you know, a portion of a continent that got broken off by the horrible storms and war that became a distant, accursed island. So yeah. But yeah, I also found out that Dragon Half has a source book for Sword World, which I have. That's so funny. And yeah, there's a lot of great Japanese RPGs that I'm collecting, like say Ryutama is super cool. There's a few others, but yeah, I love collecting RPGs here. I have like over 45 different RPG systems. It's probably a lot higher than that now, but I stopped counting, so I just keep saying 45. But yeah, I eventually plan to teach how to play a lot of those RPGs on this channel, because that's what I love doing. I love learning about the game systems and teaching people all of these amazing game systems and cool different universes that isn't just D&D. You know, D&D is great, but there's so much more out there. Just like kind of like Warhammer 40k is great for tabletop wargaming, but there's so much more out there than people realize, and I want to let people know. So let's see here. Okay, so we're gonna choose oh, D6 Star Wars RPG. Heck yeah. I have that as well. That's also something I'd like to run. And I have an old campaign that I didn't get to finish, but we were literally just like 2 to 3 sessions away from finishing it. It doesn't use the D6 West End version though. It uses the it uses the Fantasy Flight system, which is enjoyable. I still like it, but yeah. Okay, anyways, I'm getting off topic here. Okay, so we'll just go with well, what the heck? We'll go with Barbaric. She knows how to speak Barbaric for some reason. That's the thing we can explore in her backstory. So we're gonna go here, Barbaric. We'll just put that for speak. There we go. She knows how to speak Barbaric for her 1 level in Sage. And she knows how to read, write, and trade Common, and she knows how to read and speak and Human with a burr-like dialect. Okay. So we got that taken care of. It's very cool. Combat feats. So as we had mentioned earlier, when you create a character, starting at level 1, you get a combat feat. And then every odd number after that, so 3, 5, 7, 9, you gain more combat feats. So you can either have passive combat feats, which always happens, or you can have active combat feats, which, you know, you need to specifically have activated. In this case, since we are essentially a mage or a wizard, right? You're a wizard, Harry. You know, we're gonna be slinging spells and stuff. We don't want to accidentally hit any of our buddies because that would be a very awkward conversation at the tavern. So we're gonna make sure we're gonna want to get targeting. Targeting makes sure that once we start, you know, slinging spells into the fray, we're not gonna accidentally slap our buddies. You know, when they're trying to fight goblins, that gives us the ability to completely get rid of RNG, and we can help our buddies by attacking those that are attacking them in combat zones. So we're gonna take that. Yeah, this game has specifically combat feats. It doesn't have like all sorts of crazy feats that you would take in like D&D. This is very focused on combat. So we're going to take targeting. Now, just to kind of go over it real quick, there's, obviously there's other feats. So dodging, Critical threshold is reduced by evading melee attacks. So, you know, this game has a critical threshold depending on the attack used. So sometimes it's easier to get a crit compared to other times when you roll for damage. It's specifically the roll for damage part, not the roll for the attack. Which is something I need to get used to, because everybody's used to rolling and critting on the hit roll, not the damage roll. So, very, very different. Actually, I think the only time you ever roll crits for damage when you're rolling the damage roll specifically, I think is Savage Worlds, because you can quote unquote ace your roll by hitting the highest die number, and you can keep doing that to increase it more and more and more. I think that's the only time. Otherwise, it's when you roll to hit that you can crit, outside of sword roll. You know, for what we just talked about. You know, active combat feats. You know, you want power strike that can increase your damage, but you know, there's more to these. Like if the page here will tell you exactly like how that all shakes out. So let's say, for instance, right, we talked about power strike, I think, during our game. So if you do power strike, that's not power strike. What? Wait a minute. Where'd you go? You're making me look like a fool here, document. Where'd it go? Come on. Oh my god. Okay. We're gonna pretend that didn't happen. Okay. Power strike. 255. Oh my god. It's here somewhere, dang it. Oh my god. Okay, just... There we go. So yeah, Power Strike. If you want to use Power Strike here, it takes a melee attack. You give +4 to your damage. However, the risk is that you will have an evasion check of -2. Which is basically what it says here. So there's a little bit of a penalty for some of these, but it gives you a really big bonus if you're willing to go with that penalty. Ours doesn't have that. Ours is a ours is a passive, so it always works. But it's a decent you know, it's not super amazing, but hey, it makes sure we can't friendly fire, so that's super cool. All right, so we've got that taken care of. Let's move on to the next one. We got our combat feat, Tau to purchase equipment. Okay. Let me drink some tea here. Or in this case, I'll say hot chocolate because it looks like I'm drinking hot chocolate. Okay. Alright, so in order to get equipment, we need to purchase things. So we get 1,200 gamels. I think that's how it's pronounced in the game. It's basically like gold. Use this to purchase equipment. The GM is allowed to decide whether or not you're allowed to borrow money, because 1,200 is not a whole lot. That's just enough to kind of get something for you, but you want to prioritize the most important things for you starting out, so. So since we're focusing on being a sorcerer starting out, it's recommending that we take magical implements. What is that? Magical implement. It's one-handed or two-handed, right hand, left hand, or something else. 100 gamels or weapon price plus 100. Used to cast true speech magic and spiritualism magic. So basically it's like it's something we use to cast, you know, to cast magic with. So either a wand or maybe a sword, you know, like we were talking about Legend of Zelda earlier, right? We put magical implementation on a sword, so that way we just point our sword at something and like shoot lasers out of it, which would be awesome. You know, now of course we can't hit for crap if we were to try to fight with a sword because, you know, we don't have a warrior class at the moment under our belt, so yeah, we would kind of suck at that, so definitely recommend looking into something that is specific to your class starting out. So like there's a handy dandy little chart here, and they kind of say just a brief what works. So yeah, it's going to cost 100 gamels. If there's something we can get that we can use, like maybe we can get a melee weapon that we can also put that in, like maybe a staff or something like that, right? We can go full Gandalf. That'd be super cool. So let's see here. You're also going to notice that there are what are called B ranks and A ranks. Typically when you're starting out, unless if you have the combat feats for it, you're usually only going to be able to start with the B rank stuff. So you're not skilled enough to wield the stronger weapons. You instead have to go with the B rank stuff, unless your character build says otherwise. See, do we have something we can get that's just... maybe just like a staff or something. Here you go. Staves. Or stabs. Most stabs are long and two-handed weapons. Can be used to implement for two-speech magic, which is what we want. Because they're sorcerer's favorite item, many of them have special effects. So let's see, a mage staff. Two-handed. Alright, that's pretty cool. Quarterstaff. I wonder what that is. Let's see. So that says +1 to defense to the wearer. That is, let's see, details. Okay. Efrit Whiskers. What in the heck? Huh? Mage staff, quarterstaff. We got more power behind the quarterstaff. It's going to cost a little more, but you know what? I think that's okay. So let's grab the quarterstaff here. That's going to cost us 140 for the quarterstaff itself, and then additional 100 to put the implementation on it, so that way we can use it to sling fireballs. Okay, so we're going to put that over here. Let's see. First, let's put 1,200. And then we're going to subtract, what is it? 160? 140. So we're going to subtract 140. So that brings us down to, I don't feel like mathing today. We're just gonna we're gonna use the calculator. Minus 140. Okay, Then we're going to put the implementation on it for another 100, or down to 960. Alright, so we're going to add quarter staff. This is for the... Oh. Oh. What would this be? Would this technically be a fighter? I mean, we don't have any of these, so I guess it would just be a fighter. There's a two-handed stance. Minimum strength for the weapon is... let's see. 4. Okay, weapon accuracy, we get a +1. Its power is going to be 14 for its damage output. So put 14 here. It's going to immediately fill out the stat array. The crit value we have for this, I think, is 10. Excuse me, 12. We got to hit at 12. Ooh. Oh boy. There we go. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is all considered warrior-based stuff. Oh yeah. So let's go over the different stances real quick. So when you use a weapon, different weapons will offer you different stances. Different stances have their own strengths and weaknesses on how that weapon is used, and the types of bonuses and penalties that apply. So, if you have a one-handed weapon, you can obviously use that in one hand, leaving your other hand free to, let's say, hold the shield, or use for some other function. Two-handed weapons, obviously you're using it for both hands, so you have no free hand available for something else, but that usually means you have more power to deliver a blow that'll usually deal more damage. And then there's the other stances. So, starting from the top. One-handed with the, it looks like a, kind of like a cross symbol. Allows either one or two-handed to wield, so it's essentially like a versatile weapon, like in 5e D&D speak. So that will usually show you two different stances, what it would look like in one-handed and what it would look like in two-handed. After that we have 2HS or 2HP. So some two-handed weapons can be used in two ways, either via slashing or piercing. Such weapons have two listed data types, stating such. You have to make sure to state which style you're going to use before your attack, as that will change your accuracy check, as well as other stats and features of the weapon. Okay. Then we have 1H pound. Well, no. 1H star / 2H star. So when you see this weapon, that means that those are thrown weapons. So you can either use them in normal melee, or you can throw them. So I think usually an axe or a knife falls into this category. May have to check the axe part for Sword World specifically, but I know in like D&D you could throw an axe Same thing with knives. Or small daggers. You then have the stance 1HW. So this is a weapon preferred to wrestler types. This can be used with an item in hand. So it's the... this weapon can be used with an item in hand with stance 1H or 2H. Using a throw with such a weapon is also possible. However, such weapons cannot be equipped with other weapons. And then there's the 1H pound sign or 2H pound sign. This doesn't use the hand, but it's still treated as a one-handed or two-handed weapon for restrictions, bonuses, and combat feats. So yeah, that was a mouthful. So yeah, that's basically how you tell what kind of stance you can use for that type of weapon. Let's see. Let's continue to go through and see what weapons and equipment we can use. If we see this little symbol here, which is like a sword with like some sort of aura around it, that is a magical weapon. Yeah, price is gambles. Okay. Yeah, so this is for martial type classes. See anything else specific for sorcerers? Guardian Stone, interesting. Reduces magic damage. That probably wouldn't be bad to have. So let's add that. That's reduced. Let's see. It says 100 plus. What does that mean here? Adventurer's Tool consumable. Small glossy small blue stone. About the size of a thumb. Stone is able to absorb magical damage that would otherwise affect the caster. The price of this depends on the amount of HP it has. With HP times 100 gamels being the base price. For example, 5 HP stone would cost 2,500 gamels. If the owner suffers magical damage, some or all of the applied damage can be allowed to this item at will. However, it can only be allowed to one item at a time. Okay. Alright, let's keep looking around. And you can get all sorts of fancy stuff. Not just weapons, armor. It's just starting out, too. There's a lot more available in the other books. We are a scout. We do have a level in scouts, so let's see if there's something that we can use for scouts tools. Set of wires, skeleton keys, and other such tools. If you don't have it, some of scouts checks will be modified with a penalty of -4. Yeah, we don't want that. Ooh, and a key of unlocking. Let's grab that too. Let's see, both are 100 apiece, so we're going to subtract 200. Let's see, I think we have an enhancement on the quarterstaff, I believe. That's pretty important. Healing potions are always good. Awake potions are good. Awake potions are basically like Phoenix Downs, right? They bring people back from being down. So let's get a couple of healing potions and an awake potion. It's what, 300? Okay, there we go. Well, I should probably put them down here. Two of those, one of those. There we go. Okay, let's see here. Let's grab an adventure set so we get all this cool stuff. It's a nice little nifty way of just grabbing all the essentials without having to constantly dig through everything. So grab that. That's also for 100. Let's see, is there anything we can wear? Like any sort of protection? Hey, find that quarterstaff again. +1 to defense to the wearer. Okay. So we all get an automatic +1 to our defense just for having the quarterstaff, which is good because we have no defense right now. Okay, so let's see. So I'm gonna type in quarter staff. Minimum strength is 4. Defense is 1. So it doesn't help us evade getting hit. It helps tank some of that hit. Not great, but, you know, it's better than nothing. Alright, do we have any armor that a magic user can wear? I don't know. Non-metallic armor is lightweight armor that uses little to no metal. It is easy to move, but its defense is generally low. This is probably something they need to have. Cloth armor gives us 2 defense, which is probably what we'll be having. Leather, soft and hard leather. What's our strength at? Let's check our strength. Maybe we can actually get away with wearing soft leather. Okay, so the strength for Natasha here. She's a strength of 11. So let's see what our options are. Yeah, she can actually wear soft leather. Why don't we give... I mean, obviously her art is, yeah, not that. We can just give like a little, you know, just a little, wink and a nod and say, yeah, she's got belted leather in that. Yeah, why not? So let's go and put that in. So that's 150. Make sure we can afford that. Push down to 210. So minimum strength for that is 7, I think. Soft though, that's it. Defense of 3. We're not going to be wearing a shield. That is beyond our ability at the moment. And we get a defense of 3. We are now up to 4 defense. That's not bad for a magic user. Just, we don't want to get hit. We're going to get hit. Alright, we're down to 210. Let's, I guess for the sake of speeding this up, we will forgo looking into anything else and just focus on finishing the rest of the essentials, you know. Yeah. Okay, actually, no, we're gonna give her a choker. Why? Because I said so. For loyal servants, I am sure they are. There you go. Bring that down to 200. There you go. Now it matches her art. Okay. Now that we've gotten through that, purchase equipment, we now need to do the calculation of values, which it should have auto-calculated for us, but for the sake of understanding math and mechanics, we'll go over it manually. So, we're going to calculate our values. Once again, adventure level. It is the highest level that you have out of all your classes. In this case, 2. Because we boosted up our sorcery level from level 1 to level 2. So we are a level 2 adventurer. Fortitude saves, or fortitudes and willpower. In order to understand how to calculate fortitude, you add your adventure level, which in this case is 2, to our vitality modifier, as well as the willpower. Or, excuse me, fortitude equals your adventure level plus your vitality modifier. Your willpower is equal to your adventure level plus your spirit modifier. In this case, both became 4. Because we got a 3 here and a 2 here. Or, I'm sorry. We got a 2 here and a 2 here, not a 3 here. That's intelligence. I was looking for vitality. 2 in here and 2 here. Adventure level 2, 4. Health points and magic points. So your starting for your health points is your vitality number plus your adventure level times 3. Our adventure level is 2 times 3, that's 6. Add 6 to the vitality number. Our vitality number is 14, so that should be 20. And same thing with the other one. Spirit is total levels of all magic classes times 3. And then you add that to your spirit number. So our spirit number is 17. Total number of magic classes is I don't think Sage counts. I think it's just 2. So you have 17 there. Total wizard type classes times 3 plus spirit. So let's see, we have sorcerer times 3, so that's 2 times 3, that equals 6. So we have a 17 for spirit. So let's see, that brings it 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. If I did the math right. Yep. So yeah, it's just that Sage isn't part of it. Sage is kind of like it's like a utility class. Standard value of check packages. Calculate and fill in the standard value for technique check packages, movement check packages, observation check packages, and knowledge check packages. In the case of a package that involves both Scout and Ranger classes, make clear which class is used for calculating the standard value by putting the check in the box for that. Well, as you already saw, we already did that via automation. And as you can see, we hit a 1 level Scout, which fills that in. 1 level Sage, which fills that in. So Scout literally takes care of all 3 of these. Sage takes care of the last one here. We're gonna be pretty useful. And also, we put 1 here, level 1 here for the Sage, and then add our modifier for our intelligence. Brings our monster knowledge level up to 4, or our monster knowledge number up to 4. We got 1 in Scout, so that's going to bring our initiative up to 3. So adding 1 to our agility modifier right there. And then over here, I believe this is always 3 for limited movement for meters. Normal movement for us is our agility number, so our agility is 15. Multiply that by 3, and that's our full move. That's our full move measurement in meters. Okay, let's check the packages here. So packages are like all sorts of like extra cool skills that really make certain classes really useful as a utility class. And just to kind of show you what I mean, down here we have skill package diagrams. We have the technique package. So if you're a scout, which is what we are, we get to pickpocket, disguise. We also get conceal, disable devices, and set traps. As a ranger, you get conceal, disable devices, and set traps. But you also get first aid. We don't get first aid because we're not a ranger. But they don't get pickpocket or disguise. For movement check packages, for being a scout, we get initiative. We also get tumble, hide, acrobatics, climb, and follow. Rangers unfortunately kind of get screwed out on this. They don't get anything extra. They just get the overlap. So tumble, hide, acrobatics, climb, and follow. For observation check package, scouts get the appraise skill. They also get track, notice, listen, danger sense, search, meteorology, and spot trap, as well as cartography. Rangers get all that as well, along with pathology and herbology. Very cool. The last one is knowledge, which is insight, literature, monster knowledge, and engineering. I believe that's all covered via the sage. Sage and alchemist, excuse me. So if you're a sage or you're an alchemist, you get that. Now, keep in mind, you can still use those skills, or you can still roll 2d6 if those skills come up that are needed, if you don't have that class. However, remember, if you're going to attempt it and you don't have the proper class to use it, you can attempt the roll. However, it's a flat 2d6 roll. You don't add any modifiers from your ability modifier. It doesn't go towards it. It's just a flat 2d6 roll. Hope the difficulty is low enough for you to make it without having to roll a high number. I don't remember off the top of my head if this system allows you to crit off of your 2d6 roll when it comes to rolling for skill checks that you don't have skills in. But if it does, great. If it doesn't, I actually have a house rule that even if you don't have the proper class to roll the skill to get bonuses, I'll still allow you to get the 2d6 roll, and 12s will crit and allow you to succeed even if the target number is beyond the 12. It's very tough to get. Hitting a 12 on a bell curve is very hard. Trust me, I play Battletech, I know. But I always like having that little bit of, you know, there's a chance. It's a very small chance, but it's a chance. It's a little more flexible than like real old school OSR, where some of it's like, yeah, if you don't have the skill, tough. And that's fair. But I like to give just a teensy little bit of wiggle room. Okay. So we went through monster knowledge, initiative, movement. We went through that. Movement is how far you can move in meters during a 10-second round. So 10 seconds is one round of combat. And yeah, you get 3 different types of movement. You get your 3-meter move, which is kind of like your 5-foot step in regular D&D. You get your normal movement based off of your agility score for 10-second rounds. And you get full, like, running movement if you're not planning on doing anything else but except just running by multiplying your agility by 3. There's also movement enhancements, but, you know, that's something we can get into on a later date if you guys are interested in learning more about the unique mechanics of this game. Filling in your weapon data, we did that earlier. So you saw that we filled in the warrior class type, which we don't have. Although, I wonder, can we leave that blank? Maybe we can leave it blank. Let's go back. There we go. Yeah, so we just don't get anything. But yeah, we filled in the actually, let me go back. We filled in the name, we filled in the class, which for us is none. This we filled in the stance, the minimum strength to use that weapon, any weapon accuracy that's granted by the weapon itself, as well as the total accuracy if we have a class that grants more accuracy to the accuracy of the weapon. We filled in the power number for the damage type of the weapon, which gave the auto stat array. It filled in the crit value. Well, we filled in the crit value, which is 12. We don't get any extra damage for this particular weapon, and we don't have any extra total damage from any other bonuses outside of what the weapon does. So yeah, we got that all filled. Armor data, we filled in our armor data. So in this case, we've got soft leather, which has a minimum strength of 7, which we can hold. We don't have any evasion bonus for it, but we do have a defense bonus of 3. So if we take damage, not evade damage, but actually taking damage, we're gonna take off 3 damage from whatever we absorb. And then same thing with the quarterstaff. It's a minimum strength of 4. It gives us an additional defense of 1, giving us a total defense of 4. So if we get hit by a weapon of some type, or an attack of some type that deals physical damage, we get to subtract 4 from the damage total and hope it's enough to keep us alive. Magic power. We have our magic power here since we are a sorcerer type magic user. And then if you have any accessories, you fill that in. Adorable artwork. And then your final touches. So you want to write in your history, why you went on an adventure. You know, if you haven't already determined your character's name, gender, and age, you know, you do that now. Your appearance, personality, all that fun stuff. And yeah. Then you are good to have the character ready for a new adventure and start a game. If after creating a character, you're like, awesome, I know how to create a character. How the heck do I play this game? Well, dear viewers, you are in luck, as I have a previous YouTube video that actually teaches you how to play the basic mechanics of the game and what it looks like to go on a solo adventure. So definitely check it out. All right. Well, we are done creating Natasha Shevchenko as a level 2 adventurer with a focus on sorcerer and added scout and sage. Very cool. Okay, well, that's all we're going to teach for tonight. Once again, if you guys would like to learn the character creation book version, aka the life path version of creating a character for the Sword World RPG, please comment down below. If we can get this video to 50 likes, I'll search for the comment that has the most likes on requesting on what to learn next for this game. And we'll do that next. And if it just so happens to be the life path system, aka the character book creation system, we'll go towards that. So, all right, yeah, the music that's good music right there. That's sleepy music right there. Okay.